The biggest mistake that I see that happens with the candidates, and not just India, but I think maybe all across the globe, is we send the same profile to every role that we apply for. Do what adds value to the profile.
पहले तो थोड़ा ATS के बारे में लोगों को बता दीजिए. What is
So
applicant tracking
ATS is
system?
an application tracking system. When you apply to any good company, they would have a software to screen your profile or to capture your profile from where it kicks off the entire interview journey or a hiring journey. Have you really refreshed this professional summary on the top? Have you really refreshed the responsibilities that we really performed on the job? You know, everybody will copy paste somewhere, but I think all of us are different and we carry competencies which need to be highlighted.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, स्वागत है आपका ट्रू इंटरव्यू सीरीज के नए एपिसोड में, जहां हम आपको मिलवाते हैं एचआरस और इंडस्ट्री लीडर से और सीखते हैं उनसे करियर और बिजनेस टिप्स. मैं हूं कुंवर वैभव सिंह, फाउंडर ऑफ TrueCV. TrueCV एक प्लेटफॉर्म है विच हेल्प्स जॉब सीकर्स इन गेटिंग रेडी फॉर जॉब बाय रेज्यूमे राइटिंग, लिंक्डइन मेकओवर एंड इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन. आज हमारे साथ हैं एक ऐसे एचआर जिन्होंने 2 दशकों से भी ज्यादा टॉप MNCs के लिए हायरिंग की है. He has worked with brands like Tech Mahindra, Genpact, and currently he is the director of talent acquisition for a leading SaaS company UKG. आज हम इनसे जानेंगे ये कैसे सवाल पूछते हैं इंटरव्यू में, और ये भी जानेंगे कि लिंक्डइन और रेज्यूमे राइटिंग के इंपॉर्टेंट टिप्स क्या होते हैं. प्लीज वेलकम मिस्टर रमित त्यागी. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time. Pleasure to have you on our podcast. और बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद दोबारा से टाइम निकालने के लिए.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav, for having me here, and thanks to TrueCV. Appreciate all that you're doing for the world and for the society. Happy to be a part of this, moment today. Yeah, thank you.
थोड़ा सा अपनी जर्नी के बारे में सर बताइए, कैसे शुरुआत की, कैसे आप टैलेंट एक्विजिशन में आए और कैसा रहा था सफर ये आपका?
So, I belong to a place called Roorkee, which is well known for the IIT Roorkee. That's where I was born. I come from a defense background. My dad was in the armed forces. I traveled all across India. And after doing a graduation in computer science, I was trying to be a software engineer. But the bubble, dot-com bubble had burst in those days. Difficult to get a job in software. Then luckily I got a job in sales where I started selling laptops and computers. That was like long time back. People were still figuring out what is a laptop, what's a notebook. And when I got bored of running around in the hot summers of Delhi on my bike, a Yamaha RX 100 in those days, I thought, let me get a job where I could sit in a nice, cozy place like this and still make my living, earn some good money. And that's where I was, reached by one of the companies called Artec, which is a big name as of today, but I was their very first recruiter that they hired in India to work from offshore for hiring in the US. So that was like long time back, about 20 years back. And since then, there's been no stopping. I have loved my job. I love that. And for me, recruitment is a good karma. You make a better living for yourself. You get the better talent for your company, help them grow faster. And you also help a candidate make a better living, go for a better life, better career, or make a change to something new. For me, it's a good karma, to be honest with you, while I make my living out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great. So, you worked with so many different companies. जैसे आपने बताया Artex, Genpact, Tech Mahindra. Now you are working with one of the biggest SaaS company. क्या डिफरेंस होता है इन सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में, एंड क्या आपने फील किया, एंड व्हाट वर द challenges?
I think every company, maybe from the same industry, still could be different. Like all humans are different, while we all look same. So, and I think they vary by the business model that they are into, the kind of way they make their revenue. So, a product company will have a different business model, and they will look for a different kind of hiring. A services company will obviously have a different model, and they look for a different kind of talent. I also work for startups. I also work for core product engineering companies. I work for some very large global system integrator enterprises. I've worked in India, I've worked in UK, and I've done hired for 13 countries in my last global role with Genpact. So I know, see, every company will differ. What we as a TA, one thing that remains is every software company runs by the talent that it hires. And for any software company, any IT company, their final asset or wealth is the people that they hire, So that's where the TA function becomes very critical for not just sustaining but taking the company to the next level. And that's where it becomes more of a revenue or a growth enabling function. It's no more a support function,
Right.
but more of a revenue enabling function or even a growth enabling function for any company.
So what is your secret? Because जो मैंने experience किया है, come from a talent acquisition background to a journalist profile to HR business partnering role, and I have seen so many people, they don't want to get into talent acquisition, or maybe if they get into, they want to come out of it as quickly as possible. uh, मैंने बहुत टाइम तक किया और देखा, आपका क्या सीक्रेट रहा ऐसा जो आपको स्टिक किया? क्या आपको इसके बारे में अच्छा लगता है?
See, this role came out because people believe that this is just not, that this role can be done by anybody in HR. It became a very specialized field many years back and more with the tech IT taking shape in India. For me, it's a people centric, people facing role. You have to be a very good people's person to flourish in this role.
Right.
And it's a role where you sell, but you connect so humanly to a candidate, and it's purely driven, the success of this role is purely driven by the relationship that you create, the understanding that you create of the role, of the profile of the candidate and of the hiring process. And it's driven a lot also by the experience you create for a candidate and for your stakeholders. For me, coming from a tech background, I learned programming in my college. So I could not become a software engineer, but I've been hiring software engineers for all last 23 years. So for me, it's more like I could understand those JDs, those roles which I wanted to become someday. I started explaining them better to a candidate. So the success will still remain how you connect with the people,
Correct.
how well you understand the role and the position, how honest can you be in your approach to create a great experience, because people love to work with people who are honest, transparent,
Right.
and maybe very human. So I think it's a very human and a very humanity driven role, while of great support to your business. And it's very much like a sales job as well, because
Absolutely.
if you don't hire on the right time, the right quality, the right talent within the right timeline and budget,
बिल्कुल.
something will go wrong somewhere. Some target would be missed.
Yes.
So it's a revenue generating role, but a very human role.
Absolutely. I think on this, couch, somebody who has spent 20 plus years only in talent acquisition, we are having for the first time कि जिसने 20 साल तक talent acquisition किया, और आपने देखा होगा वो क्या शिफ्ट आया है, क्या चेंज आया है उसमें 20 साल पहले हायरिंग में और आज की हायरिंग में क्या शिफ्ट है?
So I started being a recruiter when you used to carry a hard copy of a resume. And that is the only way to get hired or interviewed by somewhere. Now you have everything on your WhatsApp, right? Many a time you don't even need a resume or a profile. You could just go to LinkedIn, have a look at the profile, and then you decide whether we should get this candidate into a hiring process or not. So I think the whole digital transformation, the experience-driven hiring, the tool technology, and finally the AI, which is taking care of everything and almost taking over everything. So what defines your success and the interest in this field is the way you evolve with the times. Obviously, I'm not what I used to be 20 years back. I would have evolved, learned, moved, or worked upon myself through every company, every opportunity that I got, whether in India or abroad. So as long as you keep evolving with the times, getting more adaptive to the way you hire and the new tools, technology, and now to AI, is what gonna still keep it an interesting journey for you and a more enriching journey for you. And obviously, you grow by the talent that you hire, but for that, you need to create an expertise how to hire that talent.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. तो जब आपने जिक्र किया कि हार्ड कॉपी ऑफ रेज़्यूमे एक तरीका था उस टाइम पे, अभी जब आपके पास कोई कैंडिडेट इंटरव्यू के लिए आता है या अब आप कैंडिडेट के लिए बुलाते हो, इज देयर अ टाइम व्हेन पीपल दे डोंट कैरी अ हार्ड कॉपी ऑफ रेज़्यूमे, और कैरिंग अ हार्ड कॉपी ऑफ रेज़्यूमे is important? Should a person carry hard copy of resume, or if they are not carrying, that's fine? क्या है?
I'll say create a very good profile. Resume still holds a good value, but I don't think we take that hard copy anymore. Also, because we don't want to waste paper, tree, and finally, we don't want to cut more trees. So I don't think anybody asks or would really want a hard copy anymore. And I don't even expect that to be done as a formality or as an obligation or to just to show that, hey, I'm so serious about this job, you know. So we love to have candidates who walk maybe with their hands in the pocket, all free. We need them to carry the competence and expertise that we need to hire them upon, not obviously a hard copy.
What is the percentage of people come for interview with resume, and what is the percentage of people they come without resume?
I think the ones who will come with a resume will be those who would have not asked us, should I carry a profile? But we do specify in our invite, and I've been doing that for many years now, that I don't need to carry a hard copy at all. But some people may or may not be carrying because they forgot to ask us, or maybe they forgot to read the instructions for the interview. And I think many a time the freshers who are coming out of the college are still very conscious about it.
Yeah.
And I go to those colleges for campus hiring. I still see people coming with a hard copy. That's the only place where I still would have seen a hard copy of a profile, and which makes sense as well, because there we may not be maybe sitting with a laptop or with a machine, and you interview so many candidates in the same day. But we try not to require or ask for a hard copy. But sometimes I still see some in the colleges.
Is it MNC effect, or do you think Indian companies are also asking people?
I think all good companies, you know, because people know there is no need to have a printout. There's no need to waste a paper on something that you will anyway need a soft copy, because no matter how many or you ask for a hard copy or not, but you would still need a soft copy. Now, when you need a soft copy, why do you need to ask somebody to get a printout? Yeah.
And what should a good resume look like? What people should take care of while writing their resume?
A resume should be good enough for two reasons. One, it should get you into an interview. It has to get shortlisted in the screening itself. Secondly, I think when somebody has a look at your profile, you know, they should start with a good vibe. The whole discussion, which is going to be the basis of your selection or rejection, should start with a good feeling, you know, on either side. So I think you should give to a good start or a good thought or a good positive, you know, start to the interview. Finally, the selection rejection should depend on your competency and the way you perform in the interview. But as long as you're able to create a good vibe through a profile, I think it solves for the purpose.
थोड़ा सा इसको और एक्सप्लेन करिए. To give a good vibe through profile, ये कैसे करेंगे?
The biggest mistake that I see that happens with the candidates, and not just India, but I think more in India, but maybe all across the globe, is we send the same profile to every role that we apply for. And you with TrueCV would understand more about the background to this, but the biggest mistake is every role is different. You know, while the JDs may look similar, a Java programmer in each company would need or require or carry a different competency. But we believe that I'm a Java developer. My same CV should work anywhere and everywhere, which is the biggest mistake any applicant or a candidate would be doing. Every JD has different asks as a mandatory skill, as a primary skill, as a good to have skill. They need to ensure that their CV covers that well. Firstly, even if there is a manual screening, it should get shortlisted. But as an more tools are screening your profile, every company has a new tool or a AI screening the profiles, you know. Please ensure that you create a right profile if you really fit the bill for the right job that you're applying to.
Okay. And so we talked about, you know, make resume as per the job description.
If you have done the asked things,
If you have done the asked,
not to forge, because then it doesn't help anybody. It's a waste of time.
Right.
But many a time we believe that we will tell this in the interview, but you may not even get a call if the CV does not justify that, you know. And that's what the biggest mistake all of us do. What we do is every year or every new job change, what we change is the last job. We change that end date, we add the new title, new job, but did we really change what all we learned there, you know? And I'm sure all of us learn with the times, with each time and each job, each opportunity that we spend with the company, we have learned something new. Have we really refreshed this professional summary on the top? Have we really refreshed the responsibilities that we really performed on the job? You know, everybody will copy paste somewhere, but I think all of us are different and we carry competencies which need to be highlighted. And I think the learnings on the job, they need to be summarized somewhere, you know, just like an AI is going to screen your profile. And now you may want to use an AI to put that in the best of format, but don't miss out on what you think you have, which is the best fit for that role.
Absolutely. I think, you know, while giving sessions in colleges, मैंने भी कई बार ये बात कही है कि अपनी प्रोफाइल समरी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसको अपडेट करते रहिए. और वो जो पुराना हमारा करियर ऑब्जेक्टिव होता था ना, लुकिंग फॉर अ करियर
Yeah,
वेयर आई
yeah,
कैन
yeah, yeah,
कंट्रीब्यूट विद माय स्किल,
yeah.
और वो 20 साल के करियर में ऑब्जेक्टिव सेम ही रहा
I
करता
know,
था,
I know.
है ना?
Yeah, yeah,
ऊपर
yeah,
ऊपर
yeah.
या तो बायोडाटा लिखा या तो करिकुलम मीटर लिखा, उसके नीचे ऑब्जेक्टिव। So time has changed, and with time, now as you rightly said, ATS is now, applicant tracking system or screening. So are you guys also, do you guys use ATS to screen?
Yeah, I think we've been always using most of the. I think in each company I've been using a ATS, and we ourselves are a HR tech product company, the one where I work right now. So we have our own solutions, we have our own product. So we eat in our own restaurant, we use our own product. That is also being used by many Fortune 50 and Fortune 100 companies across the globe.
Great,
Yeah.
great. So ATS में सेलेक्ट होने के लिए सीवी में क्या होना चाहिए? पहले तो थोड़ा ATS के बारे में लोगों को बता दीजिए. What is
So
applicant tracking
ATS is
system?
an application tracking system. When you apply to any good company, they would have a software to screen your profile or to capture your profile from where it kicks off the entire interview journey or a hiring journey. It's a tool, it's a software that the company will have in their hiring process, which is the starting point for any candidate and any application and resume. So ATS is the application tracking system, as we talk about. It will have its own built rules to shortlist or reject a profile. Typically, it will contain the required skills or a mandatory skills as a filter, which could be the number of years that you would have spent or you have done after education, the primary skill that you carry, the maybe a degree or a education that you might carry, or maybe even the work authorization that you might carry, or even the location that you come from. So various companies, various profiles will have various filters, which will be inbuilt into ATS. And that's where it comes all the more important, and handy that uh, go through the JD, do mention and highlight and capture everything that you have done in your profile or resume that you're going to share or send to that ATS for that JD. And also, it helps you to cover those things in your interview because it's already there on your profile. It may not look like that you're trying to build up something on the moment.
Right, right. So, to make it simpler, I would say having that keyword is very important because it's gonna be screened through a machine, और वो जो keyword और जो experience और जो आपने expect किया है, जो उस machine को बताया है, वो machine उसमें से ही ढूंढेगी. So the keyword has to be
And I'll go to the next level of keywords. So
जी,
keyword तो जरूर mention कीजिए.
जी,
Do mention the keyword that you think are critical for that particular role and profile.
जी,
Also mention to go to the next level. Do mention that आपने उन keyword के साथ text tag के साथ किया क्या? What were you trying to solve as a business problem using that tech stack? Because we tend to mention everything. Hey, I've got this, all the versions of Java, all the versions of various design architectures and frameworks and all.
right.
But what finally gets you selected or rejected is not because you have used this tool. You get selected or grow in a company for the problem that you solve.
Correct.
All of us are hired to solve for a business problem. Whether I'm a Java developer or I'm a recruiter, I'm trying to solve for an enterprise business problem that should help my company grow faster, make better revenue for us and for the world. So I think that's what has to be defined and should come out very clearly.
ग्रेट. आपसे बात करके इसलिए मुझे कम से कम ये सही लग रहा है कि जो हम डिस्कस करते हैं या कम्युनिकेट करते हैं ट्रू सीवी में, वो सही है. हम भी बार बार अपने कैंडिडेट्स को यही समझाते हैं और बताते हैं जो हमारे पास सीवी के लिए आते हैं कि ट्राई टू फाइंड व्हाट इम्पैक्ट यू हैव क्रिएटेड ऑन
Yeah, yeah.
इफ यू आर अ डिजिटल मार्केटिंग एग्जीक्यूटिव, आपका काम था एड लगाना, आपका काम था एसईओ करना, आपका काम था सोशल मीडिया मैनेजमेंट, बट उन काम के थ्रू आपने इम्पैक्ट क्या क्रिएट
Very
किया?
true, very true.
अगर आपने ऐड रन किया तो क्या आपने ऐड रन करके इतनी लीड जनरेट की जिससे इतना रेवेन्यू आया? अगर आपने एसईओ किया तो क्या एसईओ करने से आपकी कीवर्ड की, आपके पेज की रैंकिंग बढ़ी?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
अगर आपने गूगल ऐड लगाया तो उससे क्या वेबसाइट का ट्रैफिक
बिल्कुल
इंक्रीज हुआ?
बिल्कुल
So,
बिल्कुल
so all these things we tell them. सोशल मीडिया मैनेज किया तो फॉलोअर्स कितने बढ़े? once you once you write an impact, और हम ये भी कहते हैं कि अगर आप इस तरीके से सीवी लिखना शुरू करेंगे, आपको इंटरव्यू देने में अपने आप बहुत आसानी हो
बहुत
जाएगी.
बहुत सही आपने बात की वैभव, बिकॉज ultimately we don't get hired for what we are.
हाँ,
We'll always be hired for what can we create as an outcome
जी,
or output, as you said, or impact,
करेक्ट,
after taking that particular role.
जी,
And finally, even the interviews are more about what all you have done, but all the more about what all can you do if you're given this opportunity and this role. So assessment is not on what all you have done, but more on what all can you do being a part of this journey with us.
करेक्ट। और उन्होंने कई बार इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट किया भी होता है, और उनके दिमाग में होता है कि ठीक है, जब इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाएंगे तो फिर बता देंगे।
Exactly.
तो मुझे लगता है कि टेक आउट सम टाइम, जैसे आप अपनी ऑटोबायोग्राफी, ये आपकी अभी तक की ऑटोबायोग्राफी है, आपने लाइफ में क्या क्या किया है सब कुछ इंक्लूड करिए। अगर आप ट्रैवलर हैं, कहीं आपकी ट्रैवलिंग का शौक है, आपकी कोई हॉबी है, आपकी अचीवमेंट्स रही हैं, आप क्रिकेट के कैप्टन थे, जो भी चीजें हैं, ये आपकी एक शॉर्ट शॉर्ट ऑटोबायोग्राफी है, एंड यू शुड मेंशन ऑल।
Bilkul. And I think, especially the people coming out of the colleges, I also go to a lot of colleges, get the same questions, and I see that everybody's copied the same format, right? Now, it's okay if that's an IIM format, that's an IIT format, right? Which has been driven by the college, right? But if you're copying it because you thought this is the best thing it could get, I don't think it's going to help, because being a copycat doesn't help anyone. And everybody wants a genuine, original person and contributor. And as you and many times we get fixated on the tech profile. But as you correctly said, there are a lot of things that we live every day, do every day. I travel a lot, I love to travel. I love to get into a cause for a good, reason, or social cause, highlighting those shows that you're a better human being, which also means you would intend to be a good team player if you've been a sports person, because most sports are all about being a good team player, collaborating with other to make a win or make things work. Now, those things are going to be very, very valuable for any company. And those are things that AI will not be able to replace forever, because how good of a team player you are, how good do you help each other to perform better, get better, or how do you get together to solve for a problem, as a team. Those things get naturally defined, and highlighted when you say that you have been into various sports, you have been traveling, which also means you have been adopting to different environment, people, cultures, and society. So some things explain without being very straightforward about it. And I think there is value in mentioning those, If you have done something for a social cause, for an old age home, for even strays, do highlight that or try to bring that up in the interview, because that again shows a different side of you. Because if you've been kind, kindness always is appreciated in any team, any organization,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it builds character, be it hobby and whatever you have done, it builds a character. We all are human being. एक हमारी एक अलग कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स दिखाई देती है उसके अंदर से।
बिल्कुल।
जस्ट कंटिन्यूइंग दैट, कई बार मेरे से ये सवाल पूछा जाता है और मैं पूछता हूँ कि फोटोग्राफ रेज्यूमे पे लगानी चाहिए कि
That is the most common question I would have answered in my entire career, especially when I go to a college or I go to, I'll say, as I said, do what adds value to the profile and gets you a call for that particular interview, because then you get a chance to prove and talk further about it. If you're good looking, do no harm in putting it across, I don't do that. Because I know that's not going to get me an invite for an interview for sure. So I don't do that. But if you're good looking, there's no harm in putting that. But I've seen resumes with very different kind of photographs. Again, as I said, it has to start with a good vibe. It has to get you a call for the interview further. And if you're going for a glamour role into the glamour industry, you're going to be a model, you're going to be an influencer, you're going for a socially public, profiling kind of job, that would definitely add a value, right? But I don't think it's a mandatory ask from anybody. But if it adds value, if it really helps you to showcase a personality, a good persona, no harm in doing that. But I would really be very careful about what kind of photograph am I putting there. Also, what kind of dressing I'm, way I get clicked in the photograph, because you would have seen a lot on various LinkedIn profiles, So when I'm hiring a Java developer, I'll prefer to hire on a tech profile or a tech acumen instead of somebody who's trying to look like a social media influencer. I went to another colleges very recently. I was hiring for a non-tech profile first of all, and I asked the person, "Hey, why you're looking so sleepy?" He said, "I was preparing until 2 a.m. in the morning." And I said, "What were you preparing for?" And he said I was going through my algorithms and my Java programming. And then I realized that we were not even hiring for a Java or a dev role. It was more of a support role, a support function role. And that person is trying to convince me on how he was getting ready for a good tech interview. And then I said, what is the biggest achievement of yours? And he tells me I've got 1 million followers. Now it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's a aspirational thing for anybody to have 1 million followers.
1 million followers.
1 million follower, you know. And he was more into giving advices on diets and whey proteins and, you know, fitness and everything, which is a good craze, you know. But frankly speaking, that doesn't let me change my, you know, while he could be an influencer, but that did not
value to the role you were hiring for.
Yeah.
So the relevance is very important. If it's a customer facing role, photograph might add some value. But if it is not a customer facing role, then only put a photo if it is a properly groomed photograph of you.
And a professionally shot, you know. Yeah. And you will see that happening very well in the western part of the world, right? People really go to a studio to get a proper headshot, right? Which they put on their LinkedIn and on their profile as well, which is okay. Yeah.
What about the resume design nowadays? Template. What kind of template?
I think it has to be crisp yet complete, you know. So what I mean by that, I've seen profiles of 16, 18 pages many years back. People would keep on adding a new page for what all new job they have done. And we all know how the responsibilities kept on growing with each level, right?
Who has time now to read 16?
Now, I think anything beyond two pages, you know, it looks more than enough for
a
me.
senior level only 2 pages. Otherwise, there are I think जो junior to mid वाले उनका तो 1 page में
1 page is, see, I think for a fresher also 1 page is good enough, and for a leadership role also I think 1 page is good enough, right? You just need the talking point, you just need the journey, you just need the flow of the career, right? I think 2 pages is good enough for anybody.
Max,
yeah. But those 2 pages have, because it's so crisp, it has to be with the best of the effort, design, and I think that's where your TrueCV would come handy, right?
So we do both. There is a new design what people like कि लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में आपका नाम, आपकी स्किल और आपकी हॉबीज रहती है, राइट हैंड साइड में एक्सपीरियंस और प्रोफेशनल समरी. एंड देयर आर पीपल एंड देयर आर सम international requirement where you have only text and no design. So we do both. We send them the sample. What you prefer? The new template design where is a crisp 1 page which is divide 1/4 would have the information of hobbies and skills, and the 3/4 would have experience, or the simple text wala?
I think I'll prefer with the first style that you talked about, so that we get the best of things in the least possible time.
Okay.
And that's where the whole assessment starts with. So having a complete educational background or your work authorization on the left side, very crisply defined. And on the right side, you have the entire flow of your journey. But I think what I prefer personally, and maybe that's what I personally look for, is a good professional summary on the top. 3 lines on what all you have done, what all you want to do, and which define you as a professional and as a person or a human being. They really help, And I think the biggest deal breaker could be the format, the fonts. Keep it nice, keep it decent and nice and crisp, Instead of being too creative, some people have started using a dark mode. I saw that, like a mobile, you have a dark mode, Google can, the way. So a black background, and then you have, so firstly you have wasted so much of ink. If it's a hard copy, which I personally would not like, but keep it nice, crisp,
So आई थिंक जो आपने प्रोफाइल समरी की बात की है, उसको मैं जब कॉलेजेस में जाता हूँ तो एक्सप्लेन इस तरीके से करता हूँ कि देखिए हमारा अटेंशन स्पैन जो है वो बहुत कम हो गया है. अगर आज की डेट में कहाँ हम चैनल से लेके OTT से लेके यूट्यूब से लेके अब इंस्टा पे आ गए हैं, वेयर अटेंशन स्पैन अब कुछ सेकंड्स का हो गया है. क्योंकि जब आपके पास इतनी सप्लाई है कंटेंट की, तो अगर आपके पास अगर वो हुक नहीं रहा तो वो सिर्फ स्वाइप अप हो जाता है. सेम विद टैलेंट एक्विजिशन प्रोफेशनल्स. पहले कहाँ हमें न्यूज़पेपर में, मतलब आई रिमेम्बर मैंने भी न्यूज़पेपर में ऐड दिया, या फिर उस टाइम पे 2004, 5, 6 में टाइम एक्सेंट में ऐड आया करता था, वेंसडे को हुआ करता था. आज की डेट में आपने लिंक्डइन पे एक पोस्ट किया और you have got hundreds of application, so they nobody has time to go through your two
Yeah,
pages, three
yeah,
pages.
yeah,
First line that should be hook. Acha, this guy is relevant, now I'm gonna read the rest of it.
yeah. Very
So
true,
this is
Vaibhav.
how I
Yeah.
try to explain to them
Bilkul,
in the
bilkul. It should generate enough interest to
yes,
go to the next part of the
part of the
profile.
profile.
I think that's what you got to ensure, and that's where this whole crispness yet completeness comes into the
Comes in.
picture.
Great.
Yeah.
So while we were talking about resume, there is I believe और मैं आपसे जानना चाहूँगा कि लिंक्डइन की प्रोफाइल कितनी वैल्यू होल्ड करती है और कितनी प्रोफाइल्स को आप लोग लिंक्डइन पे चेक करते हैं जाके?
I think most of the companies will go to LinkedIn, and I think now LinkedIn के beyond भी काफी tools हैं. मतलब जैसे you also want to go to GitHub,
Yeah.
you want to check how the person is contributing or to that.
Mm.
Are they collaborating there? You also want to go through their social media profile to check on
Mm.
how nice or how positive they are in what they publish
Mm.
to the world.
Right.
So I think LinkedIn still plays an important role. For me, at least for a tech hiring, I can talk about
Mm.
LinkedIn plays a very, very important role. It's very important to be there on LinkedIn.
Mm.
Also be putting the right comment and content.
जी.
It shows the different side of you.
Mm.
How well do you connect to the world? How
Right.
positive you are working with other people?
Right.
What's your mindset? Because I think growth mindset is one thing that is required by everybody.
Absolutely.
Do you have enough patience when you come across a roadblock?
Mm.
So they all think show somewhere in the way you deal with the
Right.
world, with the society, and
Right.
on your social media platforms.
Mm.
So LinkedIn definitely, I think for me, it's the my preferred way
Mm.
and the best way for me to connect, engage, and create a pipeline. Even though I may not have a role, but I would
Mm.
still want to go through certain profile,
Right.
keep connecting with them, so that whenever I have a role, I reach
You can
them.
reach out.
But that whole journey and that whole positivity or
Mm.
that connect and rapport gets built through these posts or thoughts
Absolutely.
or comments. Yeah.
So you have a very well managed and maintained LinkedIn profile. When we had a look at your profile, and you've got more than 30K followers. So what is the tip for LinkedIn you would like to give for people who would like to have good connections, good networking, and what are the few tips for LinkedIn profile optimization?
Firstly, start with a very nicely shot photograph.
जी.
Again, should show you as a professional, not too loud, not onto your face. And pretty decent.
Mm.
Secondly, talk about what all you have been through so far,
Mm.
but also talk about what all you want to do in the
Mm.
future.
Mm.
Also, create the right connections with the new age generation and the way internet is available to all of us.
Mm.
You don't need to be somewhere to meet somebody or to learn from them, right? You could be sitting anywhere in the whole world and connect with anybody on that any part of the world. So pick some right mentors, role models, follow them, check what all they would have done to be there where they are today to inspire all of us or inspire you. See how do you get there, and how do you pick the right mentors for yourself to become that.
Mm.
Also keep writing, receiving recommendations. While it's like getting a review, but these are unpaid reviews, obviously. But try to get some feedback from the people that you work with,
Mm.
and don't expect it to be good all the time, but get a genuine feedback. Get that highlighted on a profile, because that's what finally should help you someday.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's all about what all you have done, what all you want to do. Also, if you have done something that you feel proud of, bring that out,
Right. Great.
because you will be anyway asked this question a lot. That's my personally favorite question. That what has been the proudest moment of you in your
Mm.
life so far, which could be personal or professional.
जी.
I would love to see that even on LinkedIn. If you do
Right.
something for a good cause that makes you feel good, no harm in putting it there, unless it's offending to somebody.
Correct. So now we have got resume ready. Now we have got LinkedIn profile ready. And now, what is the best way to look for a job and
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to HRs or hiring manager? Should people focus on job portals like Indeed, Naukri, Shine, Monster? Should people focus on LinkedIn? uh, Tell me for both, for freshers and experience, and how what should be the message, and how should the network first, क्या स्ट्रैटेजी होनी चाहिए उनके लिए?
So you definitely need a presence on each of these platforms. LinkedIn is very very important. And you got to be there on Naukri or Indeed as a job board. Also, keep on refreshing that profile quite often, because when a recruiter goes to hire from a portal, they may be keen to know who are the most freshest applicants for a given role. Secondly, you may not have too many. Like we all know that it's a very tough thing to get a first job unless you are hired from the campus, and we know that many million people, students from the engineering colleges remain without, a job.
Right.
For them, it becomes all the more important how you're keeping yourself engaged and still learning without a job. Even if you have got a new certification, you've done a startup, you've done some funding, some crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, keep on adding that in your profile. And I went to a college, and I met some very smart students. While they were looking for the very first job, but they were running a startup for last 1 year in their college, generating fund for a social cause for some part of the society. I love that whole spirit, because they didn't wait for somebody to come and make them employed.
Right.
They didn't wait for somebody to come and create a job for them. Also, they were self-sufficient even before getting their first job to generate a fund, generate a revenue for any good cause. But they already had built that whole competency, which is a rare phenomenon, because not many of us would not have learned that all throughout. Because that's the entrepreneurship that they created or earned or learned, even before getting the first job.
So for fresher, you would say the job portals, and they should keep refreshing their profile.
And the alumni networks on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, how it helps you connect to some of your alumni, some of your seniors, and typically they would love to help you because they come from the same college. So get into those communities. Also, don't wait for somebody to come and help you. Just get active on GitHub. Create the right profile, contribute. There are so many open source things that people are working on. And I know you don't need a degree to prove your tech competency, right? You may need a degree to get an invite or into an interview, but you can still keep on working and building a depth on the tech side.
Great. So now we have resume ready, LinkedIn profile ready. People start messaging, and they got a interview also. So now we'll be talking about interview questions. Before that, one last question I would like to know कि क्या लिंक्डइन पे हायरिंग मैनेजर को या एचआर को रीच आउट करने से कभी काम बनता है, या फिर रेज्यूमे को अपलोड करके छोड़ना चाहिए?
Many times, Vaibhav, you may not even know who's the hiring manager. The first point could still be your recruiter, right? But if you know somebody in the company with the same profile that you are applying for, they may or may not be happy to help you out or guide you. Or it doesn't harm if you reach somebody. While not everybody will respond back, it's a very huge world and people have got so many priorities. But sometimes people may like to help you. It's good to know what is this profile all about in this given company. Or you wanna go through their job postings or previous posts on LinkedIn to check how's been their journey, how's been their day in the life of that particular profile in that company. So that it's all about prepping or doing a good homework before you really get into an interview. More prepared you are, more confidence you get to talk about it, more comfortable you would be to ask or answer the right questions.
Right. Why I was asking, because I keep getting this question कि मुझे जॉब चाहिए, but I'm not getting calls for interview. So what should I do? मतलब अब मैंने प्रोफाइल भी अपडेट कर दी रेज्यूमे, लिंक्डइन पे या फिर naukri.com पे या फिर शाइन पे, मॉन्स्टर पे, और मुझे कॉल नहीं आ रही। तो ऐसे केस में क्या करना
चाहिए? See, one thing is you would have thousands of applicants for a given opportunity. How do you stay in the top 10-20% of that? Because any recruiter may not have a chance or time or enough roles to go through each profile and close a discussion. While that should be the right case and right example, but they may not have time to process. And for them, it's like when they have closed the role, right? They would not really. The interview will stop when the offer is made, right? So how do you don't miss the opportunity to be firstly getting a call for the interview? Secondly, so if you're not getting a call, rework your profile or rework on your connections, rework on your network, check if you can be referred by somebody in that particular opportunity. If you're a fresher, check for your alumni network, check for your seniors being there. They might put a word to somebody for you, as a reference. Getting a reference always helps. While that may or may not be the reason for rejection or selection in an ideal environment. But I think rework your profile. Check for your right recommendations and reference.
So now we have got the interview scheduled with you. The person is sitting in front of you. What is the first question that you ask from people? Is it still the same? Tell me about yourself.
I think for me it is. For me it is for sure. Because not before, maybe not before the, but that's my favorite, still my favorite question. So I would love to. No, that's not about to decide or define on somebody. That's more to make somebody feel comfortable, because that's what people will mostly feel comfortable to begin a conversation with. For me, that's an ice-breaking session. For me, that's also a way how does to define how does the person starts, or how proud or happy they are talking about themselves. Also helps me connect to their background or their socio-cultural, or maybe where do they come from, as a profile, as a persona. And then that also defines or leads to the next question, which could be more specific or more pointed. So for me, that's still a good introduction, also more of a ice-breaking, session to begin into a more deeper conversation. Yeah.
So the first is कि ये क्वेश्चन अभी भी है, रेलेवेंट है और पूछा जाता है, और मुझे लगता है ये अच्छी बात है कि एटलीस्ट आपको पता है कि पहला सवाल क्या होने वाला है, एंड इफ यू नो द क्वेश्चन, इट्स एटलीस्ट बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट. ये मैं बोलता हूँ, अगर आप इसमें ही फंबल करने लग जाओगे जो आपको पहले से ही क्वेश्चन पता था, and you can be just practice it so well that it flows from your mouth, like you've been doing it for so many time and you should have done and practiced it so many time. Now अब इसमें मेरा सवाल ये है कि there are two kind of introduction. One is very academic type of introduction where when somebody reaches a college and they are asked to introduce themselves, so they start with where they're from, what their father do. Father is a government employee, mother is a homemaker, brother, sister, sibling, I did 10th and 12th, because अभी उसने बहुत सारी चीजें नहीं किया. I like to play cricket. And then there is the other part that I am a BTech graduate with this years of experience, I've done this, more about very focused to role. What kind of introduction you would like to hear? The detailed academic type which talks about the whole background and personality, and just focus towards the work?
I would go for a more crisp, pointed introduction, but be ready to be probed or go more on the personal side or the family side, because ultimately idea is to share what is more relevant to the interviewer, what makes the interviewer get more confident on our ability for that particular role or competency for that particular role. So while I may want to share everything about me, but at the right moment of the conversation, at the right spot, and when asked further on that. So I think a degree or an education which made me qualify for the interview, or maybe a bit about where do I come from, which location, which region. A very quick, crisp introduction of 30 seconds is what I'll go for.
But it's not a deal breaker.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
अगर academic पुराना वाला format भी अगर कोई detail में अगर बताता है, तो it's not a deal breaker.
I think what I'll stay away from is going too deeper into my generations and my entire family or my siblings. While somebody may want to ask about them as well in some later part of the discussion. But right now, to begin with, the more important is what brought me here, what made you qualify me for this interview, which was my education, my college, my degree, or maybe the current job that I'm doing right now, or the current profile that I carry. And I think these things will change as you grow further in your career, as you go higher in your career.
What is the one question that you ask everyone?
One is tell me about yourself, but for me, I think also one of the good questions that I like is how are you feeling today? That's another way to make somebody feel comfortable, make them settled, make them comfortable for the interview, because I would not want to start as soon as possible on the real core of the discussion, but I want to make them comfortable. So I think that also is a good way to start a conversation. Tell me about yourself, or how are you feeling today, or how's the day going for you, so that they know it's going to be a nice, good conversation. Whether somebody gets selected or rejected, I think what finally we all need to ensure is they should feel good connecting with you.
Hmm.
They should go back home that they connected and had a good conversation with you.
Hmm.
Well, it will not. It's not going to work most of the times, right?
Hmm.
Definitely not all the time, but most of the time it's not going to work. But you should still leave somebody with a good experience and with a good investment of their time.
Hmm. So do you also say like all the HR that will get back to you?
I'll. This is too cheesy, or I'll say, we'll get back to you because this is a commitment that you got to keep. But I'll typically say yes. We are interviewing more candidates, and I try to be as transparent as possible without offending somebody, without really breaking somebody's heart. But I also give them a feedback. Try to give them a feedback.
Really?
I do that. I do
Have
that.
you?
And if I can be depends on the how straight or how transparent can I be on that particular moment. But if I've really liked something in them, I'll appreciate that because that gives them more confidence. Also, personally, I believe that everybody comes with hopes.
Yeah.
And whether somebody gets selected or rejected, that hope has to carry on further.
Hmm.
That hope has to continue beyond that conversation, beyond that interview. I personally like to be grateful for their time as a candidate. Secondly, I try to leave them with a good spirit, with a good hope.
Hmm.
Also, while it may not be possible many a time, but I try to tell them, hey, it was a good discussion, feel good
Hmm.
that you reached here. And I've done that many times in the colleges because colleges kids are
Hmm.
very delicate. They've not seen the rough side of life yet.
Hmm.
And they believe that because they have been in certain courses, certain batches, certain colleges, things will go in certain direction, which is going to be positive most of the time.
Hmm.
I try to tell them, hey, it's not going to work many of the time, but don't stop from trying your best every single time.
Hmm.
Don't stop giving your best every single time, while it will not work all the time for
Hmm.
sure. So maintaining that hope is very, very critical, and creating that good experience or a good vibe is very, very critical. I give them the hope that you can anyway connect with me, whether this works or not.
Hmm.
And that is how I got to 34,000 connections, over these 20 years. Yeah.
So कभी वो feedback देना उल्टा पड़ा है क्योंकि मेरे साथ तो
I'm sure
ऐसा हुआ
पड़ता
है.
है because not everybody is ready to accept.
हाँ.
And होता क्या है जितना लोग senior next round में जाते हैं ना, it becomes all the more difficult for them to accept that इस round में कैसे reject हो गया.
Hmm.
What people should understand, every round, every interview is mostly an elimination round.
Hmm.
And it may go wrong anywhere.
Yeah.
So while you got to still keep prepping it up,
Hmm.
getting better with each conversation from your side, be ready. And as we have all learned in our school, right? Give your best, but be ready for the worst.
Right.
Yeah.
And how important is being dressed well for an interview for you?
While I think I've mostly worked for great companies where I was allowed to wear, whatever made me feel more comfortable, more confident. And many companies would do that because I think we all have learned that that has got nothing to do with the way your productivity or the outcomes on your table and desk. And except for very few companies,
Hmm.
I think most of the companies are pretty flexible these days, unless you offend somebody with your dressing. But I think for the day of the interview, don't assume that you're already selected and you can dress up the way this company would want you to be dressed after you've joined the company.
Hmm.
That's my personal advice.
Yeah.
People may feel differently about it, but I think for me, I would love to see a good homework, a good prep work. So, for example,
Hmm.
if I'm going to a college, while I don't tell anybody that, hey, we want to see you formally dressed,
Hmm.
and we don't want you to wearing a tie or a
Yeah.
coat jacket in the summers, wear whatever you feel comfortable with, but show that you are really interested and you've done some good homework, and then the first thing that comes out is the way you're carrying yourself.
Hmm.
So the hygiene that you bring along, the
Yeah.
niceness, the
Yeah.
the way you dress up for that particular day also shows that you're really so concerned about this day to go well for you.
Right.
That is the only element or impact of dressing up, for an interview.
So maybe not proper business formals, maybe smart casuals would also do, but not shorts and chappal.
I'll say business formals or that's what I'll say.
That's business formal.
Yeah, business formals should be good, and go decent. Go decent. That try to show that you're really interested and keen
Interested.
for this job, whatever it takes. And for me, the dressing is only what brings you to the table as a
The
first image,
first impression.
first impression. Yeah.
All right. So we have discussed now that what kind of questions that you ask and what is your expectation. what is a red flag when you see somebody, और कोई अगर कुछ सवाल, किसी ऐसे सवाल का जवाब किस गलत तरीके से दे सकता है, या क्या देख के आपको लगता है कि यार now this guy is, you don't want to hire this.
Never badmouth your manager or your previous employer.
Hmm.
For me, it's a red flag because not because there's something wrong in giving a feedback about your employers or about your managers, but giving it in your next interview.
Mm.
And because it shows, it somewhere connects to your values, your gratitude.
Right.
Because for me, I may have worked with a company which I may not like today, but I would have learned something there.
Right.
I would have worked with a very demanding boss or a demanding manager, or maybe with a toxic boss or a toxic manager. I don't want to bring that in the public. I would share that on the right forums,
Right.
or maybe in the same employer, and
Right.
even in the same channel with the right forums, to then it's a corrective step from me. But when I start bad mouthing to my next employer about my previous employer, it somewhere talks about my values, my integrity.
True, very true. And what is the advice you would have for people who keep applying to job and getting rejected?
I think a job is just a job. It's not an end of life for any of us. It's hard to take failure. It's hard when you get rejected and maybe continuously, which is going to be a bad scenario. And I think we see that happening quite a few times these days because there could be a bigger demand, I mean, smaller demand and a bigger supply of profiles and professionals. So you'll face failure many times. Never give up, and never stop trying. The first thing you should do is analyze how did it go? What could I have done better? And it was just an opportunity that you got, which did not work. That's fine, but that opportunity did not work for you. There's nothing wrong with you being a failure. Don't assume that you are a failure. Maybe you failed at an attempt. Is the attempt that failed, right? And you still keep trying, because it's not end of life. It's not end of everything for any of us, in fact. And mostly in life, most of the times we'll fail, right? What will lead to a success or selection in this case would be how well do you learn from what failed. How well or how better do you try the next time you get an opportunity.
So, thank you so much for all the info that you have shared. We'll end this discussion with the final question. What's your advice for people who are looking out to make a career in in talent acquisition role? What they should do, and the new trend, and how can they build a career like you have built as a successful talent acquisition leader?
I think, firstly, I love being a recruiter. For me, it's one of the best part that decision that I took in my life, and I'm still hiring. I still love to hire, roll up my sleeves, and look for certain profiles when my team feels challenged or gets stuck somewhere. So I know it's a very, very important profile. It's a very, very important career, for both the candidate who want to be a recruiter and even for the companies because that's how they hire the right talent. Some key ingredients or key attributes for a good recruiter is you have to keep a very high level of hope and positivity because again, like any candidate, many of your candidates will fail, many of your profiles will not get selected. How do you continue with the same spirit without giving it up so soon? How do you stay creative? How do you keep learning? How do you think of creating a better experience for each of your candidate? And again, on your one of your questions, right? You might say, "I'll get back to you," but please do get back. That's how you create a value for your own self and your personal branding as well as for your employer in the market.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you
Pleasure
so much,
speaking to you.
Vaibhav. Thanks
बहुत
for
अच्छा
having
लगा
me here
आपसे बात
today.
करके.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
तो दोस्तों, आशा करता हूँ आपको आज का एपिसोड पसंद आया होगा. हमने बहुत से इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स को कवर किया और रमित जी ने बहुत ही अच्छे से सभी पॉइंट्स को एक्सप्लेन भी किया है. हमने बात की रेज्यूमे राइटिंग की, हमने बात की लिंक्डइन मेकओवर की और हमने बात की कॉमन इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चंस की. इफ यू वांट टू एक्सप्लोर आवर कोर्सेज अराउंड दीज टॉपिक्स, लॉग इन टू truecv.com एंड डोंट फॉरगेट टू सब्सक्राइब टू अवर चैनल ताकि आप ऐसे इंसाइटफुल इंटरव्यूज फ्यूचर में मिस ना करें. मिलते हैं आपसे अगले एपिसोड में. तब तक के लिए कीप लर्निंग, कीप ग्रोइंग.